You're tuned in to the Dockmaster Mike radio show, simultaneously cast on the Dockmaster Mike Music Podcast. My guests this afternoon are both world renowned guitarists and acclaimed multi instrumentalists, Stefan Duros and Shahin Shahida, who have collaborated for a new single release titled Waves of Time, which features saxophonist Vincent Henry. The single has been described as an artful fusion of their respective styles. It is my pleasure to welcome aboard both Stefan Duros and Shahin Shahida. Welcome aboard, gentlemen.
Hi, thank you so much for having us. It's great to be here.
Thank you.
So let's talk about this collaboration. I know you both have worked in different forms separately and in other collaborations. What was the birth of this project?
Well, I seem to recall, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Stefan. You and I were talking about collaborating, and I just had some idea I might have thrown your way, and you bounced it back, and we kind of were because we don't live close by. We were, coast to coast. So I think it was just an idea that was sparked, and then Stephen took it and added all his wonderful instrumentation, drums and bass and keyboards and guitars, and so he kind of we together we gave birth to a new song that was kind of just an idea initially. It was pretty fun.
Yeah. We had met a long time ago in the Bay Area some years back, and through a mutual friend, Lawson Rollins. And I had always been a big fan of Shaheen Sapir. I was listening to them in the '90s when I drive out to Malibu when I was, before I was married and had kids and all that. But I love their music, and it just set the tone and the vibe. And when we met, we just really hit it off, personality-wise and music-wise. We had a lot of things in common. We've kept in touch ever since, and we've always talked about throwing a song together. And the timing was right, and we had some song ideas. Actually, Shaheen initiated. He said, I got these chords. Let me share them with you. And I heard it right away, and I thought it was fantastic. So I was like, oh, this is great. So we went from there, and I wrote some parts too, and we just collaborated, and I felt the song really came together quickly.
It's almost like you guys are the exact same style on this one song with your acoustic guitars. And so when I hear the collaboration, it's exactly what it says. It reminds me of being on the beach. It reminds me of being down PCH and cruising.
Yeah,
Shaheen, where are you located?
I'm in Virginia actually. I used to be in DC for like 20 plus years, and then moved out to Shenandoah area. It's in the kind of farmland of Virginia, and I have a studio out here. And Stefan's right. There's a fella musician, Lawson Rollins, who's a very accomplished guitarist, and he and I have both worked with Lawson, produced him over the years, and collaborated and whatnot. So he moved out here too. So he's pretty close by now. I mean, pretty close meaning like maybe 45 minutes to an hour. So uh, we're um, we're all kind of connected through the Lawson Rollins music and then Otmar's music. Otmar was on the same record label as us, and I love everything that Stefan does on his instruments, and I just hear musicality coming out of him so much. I felt like, okay, this would be great if we collaborated and we have these shared experiences with the Spanish guitar, and that being the main voice and whatnot. Also into electric guitar and keyboards and everything. So it's been a great collaboration as far as I can vouch for.
And Stefan, you're on the West Coast, correct?
Yeah, I live with my family here in Claremont, California, which is in the LA area, about 30 miles east of LA.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with Claremont. There's a lot of history that goes back there from, Jim Morrison to I know it's not
Oh
really
yeah.
the same thing, but Claremont is kind of like that good halfway point. It's on the other side of LA County, like of the county
Yep.
line, right? And then you cross
Yeah,
over,
we're
it's
just,
Montclair. So,
yep. Yep. No, that's true. We're just on the edge. We're still in LA County.
yep. And far enough that way you're out of the craziness of all the different places over there, the recording and the traffic
Yeah.
and I meant recording studios. Let's talk about your backgrounds a little bit. Stefan, I was reading your background and it seems like almost like you're doing a parallel thing where you have this talent of music, but you also have this other talent of the people you worked with in other forms. What was that like working with Toto and Olivia Newton-John?
Yeah, it does feel like a parallel life because I also do, well, I used to. I'm retired from it now since I can't travel and tour as much as I used to because being a dad to my kids, there's so many milestones I would miss, and I need to be in their lives right now. But yeah, I was the touring lighting director for Toto for about almost 20 years, and I've toured with Olivia Newton-John as her lighting director, also the Down from the Mountain tour, which is all the music from the Coen Brothers movie "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," which featured Emmylou Harris, Alison Krauss, Union Station. I've been out with them. I was Ottmar Liebert's lighting director, and I was the house lighting director for the Key Club Billboard Live. It was actually Billboard Live first, and then the Key Club took over on Sunset Boulevard. I was their house lighting director for 7 years and worked at the Roxy as a lighting director for some years. It's just the list goes on. So I had a whole other parallel life. I've traveled 55 countries on tour, done tons of arena tours with Toto, and just all over the place. We'd hit uh, uh, South Pacific. We'd be out in land islands way out in the Baltic. We'd, Faroe Islands in the North Atlantic, South America, North, everywhere, Central America. It's crazy. So I have that whole other life. And then I have toured with Ottmar Liebert as well, playing in his band for 4 years in the mid 2000s. And actually, him and I right now have kind of a, a record. We've collaborated on this really cool new project. He'll have a record out and I'll have a record out, and we've shared rhythms. So we've been involved in this project over the past few months too. So with all that going on, and then being pretty much a full-time parent to our three kids, it's been it's been a lot of great things. And but yeah, it's a lot of different parallel stuff.
Yeah, what's really weird, and this is just a side note, is that I've kind of got led to your music in a weird way through Toto and through some of those artists because of Yacht Rock, and I'm associated with Yacht Rock through this group that I started a long time ago. It's a group, a Facebook group, and it really grew once this whole term took off. And obviously Toto, Jeff Porcaro, especially that specific earlier lineup prior to Joseph Williams joining, and so I'm associated with a lot of those guys through different means and different associations, not directly associated, but it's really interesting now that, and this is not, I'm not trying to branch off into the conversation, but it's really interesting how they're starting to take on like a new life again with,
Yes.
with Shannon on the drums. It's like a resurgence of their popularity. It's like they're bigger than they've ever been before.
Oh, I know, and I'm so happy for them. I would love to be out there. They're doing huge arena tours right now in the U.S. I mean, I would love to be out with them doing all that. I really would, and I'm so happy in my heart for them. They're doing incredible right now. They're bigger than ever, and I'm wishing them all the best. I'm still in touch with them. They're like family to me. I've, known Luke since 99 or 98, and I was doing some lights for them before I even knew them. Doing what they did when Luke did Steve Lukather and Friends around LA area. I was doing some lights in some of the local places. And then to actually get asked to come aboard in 1999, they did a Mark and Brian show at the Key Club in the evening, and they were looking for a lighting director. They just happened to like the timing of the lights I did. I was recommended to do their show, and that's a whole other story for that. I could get into. I could probably write a
Right,
book about so
exactly.
much stuff. I don't want to get off on a
No,
tangent. But anyway,
exactly. And so Shaheen, let's talk about your
yeah.
background and all your, I know that you even have a more storied past. What led you into jazz as a love of what you do?
Well, I mean, just as you age, I think there's a tendency to broaden your palette, and if you're not, I tend to. That's when you lose me as a artist. So I feel like I've always been open to exploring and expanding in my mind. Of course, as a kid, we grew up playing, Santana and Clapton and all that stuff in the '70s. But then as I got older, I had a band in college, and it was all the new wave and punk era of the '80s. I was a trio. We did that for, I don't know, about 4 years or so. We were opening up for a lot of the big acts that came through. So as a trio, we would get up and do our thing. And then after that, another 8 year stint with a band called Feast or Famine. And then finally, I hooked up with a friend, Saper, who's a high school pal, and he was like, "Hey, I got this, idea of like some songs that have beats and keyboards and chords and stuff. Do you want to come over and hang out?" And I did, and we spent just like one day together, like not a whole day. Like one afternoon, we came up with a couple of songs that we recorded on the spot. And he kept calling and saying, "Hey, man, you got to hear this stuff. It's pretty cool." I was like, "What are you talking about?" We were just jamming. And long story short, 2 or 3 more sessions, and we came up with our album 1001 Nights, which got signed and got us on Billboard number 6 or 7. This was during the time when big names were on selling CDs, so we were kind of happy to be in that company, thanks all to those recordings done in his bedroom, which we, of course, later went and recorded them in a proper studio, which is where Otmar did all his stuff, by the way, in not all, but his early stuff in Santa Barbara sound design. So that gave birth to, a broader palette than, say, the punk first, and then it was like the 90s rock, and we went through the whole gamut. um, so then it became an instrumental palette, and then from there, other instruments came in, like clarinet and whatnot. Like our album World Cafe has some of that in there, where we have Richard Hardy playing clarinet, and so it just broadens my views on music, and just my lens keeps opening up more and more. And in between it, a lot of world music, because I deal with a lot of African musicians and Persian musicians, which is my heritage. Is originally from Iran, but been here for about 50 years now in the States.
Yeah, I was looking at your background, and I think it's really interesting, especially in the historical aspect of how you escaped. It's like you left this world that just completely changed, almost like kind of like what happened with COVID.
Yeah, I think what was interesting about my experience was that I was living in Tehran, Iran in the 70s, but I was at the international school. So all the teachers and students were from all over, a lot of Americans, Brits, Australians, whatnot. So I'm living in a Middle Eastern country, but through that lens and experience. So we're playing, Pink Floyd and whatnot in high school in Tehran in the 70s. So I didn't necessarily grow up being dialed into like Persian classical music, which is really, advanced and kind of like Indian classical, so many different tiers and whatnot. So I didn't really grow up with that. I grew up with Western music, but in that, environment, in that context. So I thought that always allowed for me to have a easier dialogue with like Western musicians once I moved out here to the States. I was like, hey, I can, if you want to marry the two cultures together, I can speak both languages. Let's play around with that and see what comes of it. Anyway, that's kind of like my how I arrived at where I am now.
Well, the interesting thing when you bring up Pink Floyd, the first thing I think of is the Wall album, and some of the artists that Stefan has worked with were actually they recorded on that album, so they brought in all this personnel to try to broaden the sound of Pink Floyd. And yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think Lukather, if I'm not mistaken, played. I know Porcaro played on a couple of songs. I know that Tony Tennille sang background on a couple of things. So it's very interesting that there's like this whole world that merged together, even from something back then with punk rock, right? It's like you have to have this explosion of music to get this beauty, kind of like what happened with '90s rock, and now there's appreciation for smooth, good, articulate instrumentation music again. So back to where we're at
Yeah, yeah.
currently with your work, it's like you both have like different stories, but they all kind of bridge together through certain things, unintentionally. So, what's your processes
Mhm.
in the studio when you record, when you were working on this song?
Well, I just want to touch on one last thing really quickly about what you said about both of our musical backgrounds and our just life backgrounds, touching on this because I felt that is actually what worked really well in the track that we did. Because, with my Toto background, I used a Music Man Lukather model guitar that he gave me years ago, and I played the electric on the chorus on that. So that was kind of like my background coming in, and Shaheen brought this beautiful vibe that I've heard him do in his previous music and his life experiences into the other aspects of the song, the verses, and I just felt like it was such a really well done. Just the marrying of the two backgrounds, I think that they really just glued together nicely. So I just wanted to touch upon what
That
you
is
said. I would
so
agree.
interesting. That's a beautiful thing to just, have this all kind of blend together. having it merge. It's the beauty of music and the beauty. And you mentioned Mark and Brian, and I mean, like I said, we can go into all these different stories, but
Yeah.
I'm familiar with
Another
those
time,
guys
maybe,
too.
you know? Yeah, we can all get into more of this in the future if you like. But Shaheen, go ahead with your recording process.
Well, in my case, usually a song idea starts with, either a hook or a chord progression that inspires me. And, in the recent years, I've got multiple effects and loopers and whatnot. So I'll lay down a groove with my guitar and then jam to myself and see what comes of it. I think usually it's guitar, and then I'll play some bass, some percussion. Um, I'm actually in my control room, but I can turn the camera that way or my laptop that way, so you can see the room from back here.
Oh, I love it.
So I don't know if you can you see that.
Oh, it's
Yep.
fantastic.
I
Yep.
see all your guitars. I see your pedal board. I see your
Wow.
drum set,
Yeah. So
Love the piano in there.
your
this is
mixing
my
board.
control room. So that's my 1973 Fender Vibro Champ that I had that was my very first amp in Iran. And
Wow.
about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, my younger brother was there and he said, "Hey, do you need anything from here?" So, hey, check check and see if that little amp is anywhere in the house. And he found it and brought it.
Oh,
And
fantastic.
let me tell you, it's an amazing amp. It's
Is it solid
uh,
state or is it
no,
tube?
it's a tube.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, it's a highly sought after amp, and I Googled this because always heard this rumor that um, Jimmy Page played through that in, I think it was Houses of the Holy or something, when they
Hmm.
did it in that big corridor, and I think he used that same amp. I was like, is that a myth or is it true? And according to Google, it was. There's some truth to it. So a little tiny thing, but sounds awesome.
That's
Uh,
fantastic.
yeah, you
Wow,
can
you're
see it
totally like
back here.
in your laboratory right now. I love it. I love that mic too, by the way.
Yeah, I've got a Bronner tube mic that was made by Dirk Bronner. It was one of his first ones, and he and I became good friends. And then he kind of took off because Peter Gabriel bought like 40 of them for his studio or
Oh,
some
wow.
project he was doing. Yeah, and they're not cheap. They're the answer to the U87s, basically. Um, let's
Are they
see.
really?
Yeah, it's a tube mic, and I'll show it
Fantastic.
to you.
U87 is a great mic.
U87 is awesome. And I was gonna get that, but a friend of mine said, "Oh, you should check this one out too, because it's comparable." I don't know if you can see it. Let's see.
There it
Here we
is.
go.
Yep.
I,
Wow.
Very
yeah,
nice.
it's
That's a beautiful
really
mic.
nice. It's a Valvet model, and so I use that on my nylon string all the time. And
Fantastic.
there's also you can see there's a 121 Roy or 121.
Is that a ribbon mic?
It's a ribbon mic.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
looks like it.
actually Lawson's mic. He's kind of like loaned it to the studio because he doesn't play it through amps and loud instruments. That one's good for. But then there's a 414 over here that I use on the nylon string along with the.
Oh,
This is
nice.
so cool.
Yeah, yeah. I,
Yeah,
I love the. Is that a Gibson SG up on the wall in the back?
that one is actually not. That's a Harley Benton, which is, I don't know if you're
Ah,
familiar with those. It's like
no.
It
these.
looks like an SG. I was gonna say
It does look like an SG.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It sounds and feels like an SG.
Okay.
That's Dan Electro over there. I got some
Dan
nice
Electro.
equipment here.
I'm moving in.
Yeah, so this is my little Dan back here, but
Very cool.
the process starts with guitars to a rhythm to and then some bass, um, and then see where it goes. And I love working with Stefan because, like I said, he's very musical. He's like, you know, um, he can play fast and very, um, you know, precise, beautiful notes, but it's also comes from an inspired musical place. So it's great fun, and that's why Otmar, I'm sure, is enjoying working with you as well. You both have a great synergy, both of you. It seems. I've heard your recordings.
Well, thank you. Yes,
And
I
what's your
appreciate
recording
that.
process like, Stefan? I love talking to you guys because you're showing me
Yeah.
like more than just conversation. It's like I'm going into your minds, and it's just amazing. I hope people that are listening will understand just how cool this is. But yeah,
Yeah.
go for it.
Thanks.
I feel like I should have gone first because that's a tough act to follow up. He has such a beautiful
No,
studio.
you.
I
Thank
wish I
you.
could
Thank
share
you.
something really cool like that. I just work out of a laptop currently, so I'm just sitting here in my living room right now, and I have a huge pile of laundry next to me that I have to fold for the kids. So but yeah, I work out of my MacBook, and I have a couple of NS10 monitors, and I'm just kind of in a small spot of the house right now. But I do everything on my laptop. I need to be mobile at this phase of my life because with the kids and all that. So that way I can work out on the back patio if I need to with headphones. Work out
Hmm.
inside. I can set it down in the kitchen if I need to. I'm always mobile. I'm always moving. So my creative process is I work on Pro Tools, which I love to work on. I've used it since the early probably 2000s when they had the LE systems way back then, and I've just been hooked. Actually, I bought that original rig from Simon Phillips, the drummer for Toto at the time, and I was doing some recording with him back then, which was a true honor that he invited me to record two of my songs and produce two of my songs. And one of them was Sleepwalk, and one of them was Cirrus, and he played on it. And then Mike Picaro from Toto played bass on Cirrus, and it was just a wonderful experience to have. So I was totally hooked with, I watched his workflow. He's very precise about everything he does. And it was like I was a sponge soaking up all that knowledge back then. So I've tried to stay the course and keep all of that in mind from that experience. So I would do everything on Pro Tools. I'm really into keyboards. I love synths because I started out playing music when I was 4, and I started playing the organ by the time I was 6. So I'm very keyboard oriented from the beginning. So I get really inspired by hearing keyboards and sounds. And when I could start composing, if I go just going through sounds and all my synths, soft synths that I have in the live sound libraries. So that's a lot of what I would do is listen to keyboards and start composing from there. Or sometimes on guitar. It just depends. I don't really have a formula that I stick to. I could hear a melody in my head. I'll hear a lot of music in my head, and sometimes my head will just compose in almost an entire song, and sometimes I'll sing a melody into my phone on the microphone on my phone so I don't forget. And then sometimes there's a melody that just will not give up. Like it just won't stop. I'm like, I don't want to deal with that right now. But like a week later, it keeps coming back to me. So anyway, I'll do that. And, I record, I have a couple flamenco guitars that I absolutely love. Actually, one of the guitars right now I have on loan from my cousin, which is a 1989 Manuel Reyes, which is incredible. It's a very rare flamenco guitar. It's a highly sought after year for the Manuel Reyes guitars, and I use that a lot on this recent record that I'm doing. I have the lute guitar and two other flamenco guitars. One's a Lester DeVoe, and one is Herman Vasquez Rubio that I've had, which is a 1995. Love all of those. All those luthiers are incredible. So they're each one has a different sound to them. So it's like picking out a different color you want to paint with. Every guitar sounds different. So that's pretty much my process, and I do everything myself, like Shaheen does. Engineer my own stuff. I've studied mix engineering and master my own stuff. So yeah, it's both of us are people that wear many different hats.
Yeah, you guys are just like blowing my mind right now with all the stuff you're saying. Shaheen, the first thing I was thinking about with all your guitars, I live in this neighborhood and I don't know why, but I found two instruments out there. I found an upright
Yeah.
piano that someone was going to toss out, working on
Yeah.
restoring it, and then someone left a jazz bass outside, a Fender.
Oh no. Are you kidding?
And the neck was cracked. So all I have to do is just replace the neck. And I was like, what
Yeah.
is it with people leaving these instruments out that I would have killed for as a kid? And it's like
Oh,
now
I
that I'm
because it's
50,
jazz.
it's like
I would expect
That.
it to be an accordion, not a
no,
jazz guitar.
Yeah.
no.
I'm kidding. I love accordion. I'm just joking.
I even saw a Les Paul. I didn't touch it though because it was just really destroyed. You know, Les Pauls they have the single neck, so it's like, but it's just I don't know. So when I see and I hear the things that you're talking about, Sheen, with all that stuff, I'm
Yeah.
sure you guys both probably have to go and change things out, and there's a little bit of a engineer mind and technical mind that you have to go in there and fix these things.
I do the my own setups usually on the guitars, the electrics. But I'm not really good with electronic, like fixing an amp and
Right.
stuff like that. So I have to take it into folks that I mean, I've got a lot of vintage gear here, and all bought, like you were saying, like at a garage sale or a yard sale, or what do you call it, a flea market. Like one of my greatest finds was this Wurlitzer electric piano at a flea market. The guy was just it away for like 40 bucks.
What?
Wow.
And yeah,
Oh
incredible.
my
I'll show it to
God.
you. Here, let me show it to you. It's and I this was about
40
20 years
bucks.
ago, 20 plus years ago, maybe not even that late, but here it is. Um, this guy here.
Look at that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh, it's beautiful.
yeah. So this one, like a real good find, and then a few years ago, I found this Fender Rhodes. It's a 73.
Love that.
And this thing, Stefan, I don't know if I told you about this, but the guy, it was on Facebook Marketplace, and it was an elderly gentleman, living in a very small house. He was like, I said, well, what's your story? And he said, well, I used to work for Motown, and I was one of the Motown guys. And he had worked with everyone, the Ray Charles, Marvin Gaye. I mean, he just went down the list. I said, do you mind if I record you? And he was like, no, sure. I did a little brief interview with him, and he gave me the whole rundown of who he played with. But that was their instrument. It was really cool. And that was about 4 years ago. My wife and I went and picked it up. But it was a Facebook find. I mean, it's
Amazing.
like, you know,
Wow. I,
you
I
got to be on the lookout for them. I don't need anything else, but when I do, usually I find some cool stuff like that.
my mind's just like completely blown because we've gone in a whole different direction than what I
Oh
anticipated with
yeah,
this
sorry.
interview. No, this is so great because it shows the
Well,
musicianship.
you're gonna edit a lot of this out.
Obviously there's visuals going on, but the conversations, I think, with what your both of your experiences and all that stuff. I mean, some of it is stuff that just has to stay in there. So the
Sure,
best
sure.
best
Whatever
thing.
you feel,
Oh, please
is
keep the whole
appropriate.
thing. As far as I'm concerned, I'm having a great time.
Absolutely. Well, the best thing is that this shows just how brilliant the backgrounds of both of you are and how of why this works so well. And even though this is just one single that you're released, it shows the monumental forces behind your musicality each. And that's what's great about having this collaboration and even just this interview together. And that's the best thing
Yeah,
about
there you
talking
go.
to musicians, especially folks like yourselves that have been around. The good musicians, the true musicians such as yourselves, have to salvage stuff. And it's almost like you
Yeah,
use that when you're playing, when you're recording, right? You're salvaging some of those ideas and you're throwing them down.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And it's in this day and age now where AI is coming out. I mean, in the day and age where people are, using AI and being like, oh, I'm a musician. I just used AI to do all this. It's kind of, I just don't know where the future is going now, with the world of streaming and the inconsistencies on the streaming. And like I had topped off at about 35,000 monthly listeners on Spotify this summer, and I've just tanked 18,000 monthly listeners, and I have no idea why. It's just crazy. It's like, oh, I'm dependent on an algorithm or something, and then with AI coming and all the fake AI streams coming out, it's just, I feel like we're in such uncharted waters and we're in the Wild West. So I appreciate all of the compliments and just the acknowledgments from you, because sometimes it makes, I don't think about all that side of everything. I sit here and I'm reading about what's the future going to bring.
Right. Well, you know what the future, what the AI can't take away is you and your talents each. The sad thing is there's like a lot of lowbrow minds out there now and the younger people, but there's still that appreciation for true artistry and musicianship that AI is never really going to replace.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting that they can take your likeness, they can take your voice, they can take your instrumentation and come up with something really close, but realistically, it can't replace your tact, like the things
Our
that you do.
authenticity, I think the authenticity doesn't get replaced. And I think another thing AI doesn't do, it's like for me, I want to put music out there and make the world a better place. I want to bring people together. I don't like things that are divisive. I want people to come together, no matter what country you're from. Two different musicians from two different countries could come together and speak the same language and have fun and smile together. AI doesn't think that way.
Right.
So it's a whole mentality behind it as well. I think music is an incredible force. There needs to be more of it. There needs to be more promotion for independent artists out there. And I appreciate the people that are just working hard and trying to keep pushing through the tough times right now, because I do believe in the music world, these are tough times.
My personal belief is that music and art has to be inspired. It
Yes,
can't be manufactured. It's got to be inspired. There's a spark. I mean, if people knew how to recreate Michael Jackson, they would do it all day long.
sure.
Right.
But they can't, because even Quincy Jones will tell you that no, had to be a spark of, you know, talent and spontaneous, inspired moments that create timeless art. Otherwise, it will be transient art, and it could be something that, like a TikTok song, that catches on, but whether or not it becomes like that, 10 years from now, someone want to listen to it and say, "Hey, this still sounds good. This still has soul," and you know, so yeah, that's what I feel is missing from the AI stuff, is that, and it's also lacking originality, like you were saying.
Yes.
Because to have Stefan's background or my background, the whole DNA, musically speaking, is so specialized and focused in our experience, or not focused, but embedded in our own experience, that for AI to replicate that, would not necessarily, they could maybe get the voice and everything, but it won't be that, that originality that we're talking about.
100%.
Let's talk about Vincent Henry and what he's contributed to this recording.
Yeah, Vincent Henry. Are you familiar with Vincent's background? He's a really accomplished musician. Uh, he's worked with everyone. I mean, he was with Amy Winehouse initially, and then he was touring with what's his name, the actor Hugh Laurie, and then touring with Tom Waits. So he's got a very interesting, eclectic background musically speaking. He lives close by to me and was kind enough to lend his talent, and he performed his beautiful saxophone in there. And we didn't necessarily do a feature of like him soloing, but he was playing more of a supportive role in the counter melodies and whatnot. He did some really cool rhythmic stuff that was, and Stefan did the mixing, and he picked and chose the phrases that were working the best with the overall mix.
Yeah,
Wow.
I was grateful he played on this. I think he did a beautiful job, and what he played was crucial to the vibe of this song.
The more like the song, I'm just thinking about like everything behind it and just the three of you on there. It's like you can sew each one of your backgrounds and then you have the whole music industry right there. This is mind blowing. So, the name of the single is Waves of Time, and it is on streaming platforms everywhere. And check it out. It's also streaming on Pacific Coast Radio. We play it every hour. And you can find it on smoothjazzglobal.com, the Smooth Jazz Network with Alan Kepler, Sandy Shore, and all the different streaming platforms across whatever platform that you use for your music. So, gentlemen, it's been great having you on. It was great meeting you two and talking music. And
Likewise, thank you.
I could talk
Likewise.
all day with you guys. And I just really appreciate you both taking the time to talk with me this morning.
Thank you so much for
Well, Mike,
having us and playing the single. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Dockmaster Mike Radio Show and the Dockmaster Mike Music Podcast with special guests Stefan Duros and Shahin Shahida.